Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Tonight, the masks are coming off in Pennsylvania. This was the day Governor Tom Wolf designated as the end of the mask mandate. Big Fox's Matt Kleindienst joins us from Wellsboro, where he could see the smiles on many people's recently unmasked faces.
Good evening, and over a year after the start of the pandemic, Pennsylvanians can now ditch the mask when walking around in public, regardless of vaccination status. After 14 long months, Governor Wolf announced that all mask mandates in Pennsylvania have been lifted. It's news that residents of Wellsboro have anxiously waited to hear.
I think it's time that we start moving forward.
It gets so hot with a mask on. It's like it drives you nuts. You're like, when's it time to take it off?
Beverly Fakula says it's important to reconnect with friends and family now that most COVID restrictions have been lifted in the state.
We need to be together, you know. God made us to be relational, and we need to get back to those relationships.
Residents I spoke with say that Pennsylvanians getting vaccinated is the big reason why mask mandates were lifted.
People are a lot more safer. People are actually getting the virus shot, so it makes a big difference.
In the beginning, I understand people were skeptical what were the risks, but I think we've proven that it's safe.
Both Beverly and Mary encourage those who haven't been vaccinated to go get it. To date, nearly 60% of PA adults have completed their vaccine regimens. Matt Kleindienst, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
People who modify their cars to be louder could face stiffer fines in the near future. The New York Assembly passed the Sleep Act, which would ban devices that make cars louder. Drivers caught with these devices on their muffler could face a fine of up to $500. Auto body shops could also face fines for installing certain modifications to cars. The bill is awaiting Governor Cuomo's signature. Times Square in New York was crowded with people Sunday evening when gunshots rang out. It all started with an argument, and a 21-year-old visitor who wasn't part of that disagreement was shot in the back. Kieran Dillon has the story.
Cell phone video captures the commotion. In it, you can see 21-year-old Samuel Poulin, an innocent bystander visiting New York with relatives, as he is being treated by paramedics and taken away on a stretcher after being shot. Poulin is a U.S. Marine who just graduated from the Citadel.
We heard a loud pop, and then we saw people running into the Marriott.
Tammy Felix was eating at Junior's restaurant near the corner of 45th Street and 7th Avenue when she heard the shots around 5:15 this afternoon. Sydney Santana was too.
People were running towards the street where it all happened, but the police made them come back the other way. And then we were trapped. We couldn't go anywhere. They told us we had to stay there, basically, until they figured out what was going on.
Police say the shooting happened after a group of 6 men got involved in a dispute near the Minskoff Theater, which is home to the Lion King. That's when at least one of them took out a gun and started firing. Sources tell us a bullet ricocheted and hit the victim in the back.
He was standing up, he was talking, and then they just put him on the stretcher and took him on.
The victim was taken to Bellevue Hospital in stable condition. Meanwhile, the shooting took place just a block from where 3 innocent bystanders, including a 4-year-old girl and a tourist, were shot last month. Police say that shooting happened after a gunman got into a turf war argument with his brother about where they illegally sold goods.
We seen a lot of people running shortly after the ambulance arrived.
Salma Alkerdi runs a food cart next to where this most recent gunfire erupted. She says watching the Times Square she loves being overtaken by crime is not only heartbreaking, it's scary.
That's really, really awful. You know, we love everybody that comes to Times Square. We welcome our tourists. We love them. And it's really unfortunate, like, something like that happened.
Rescue crews from around the world are descending upon the coastal town of Surfside, Florida, as families await any news of their loved ones following that devastating condo collapse last Thursday. At least 10 people are dead and 151 remain unaccounted for. Rescuers are racing the clock to find survivors. Daryl Forges is in Surfside with the latest.
The search for survivors intensifying as rescuers comb the rubble for the 5th day.
It's the largest effort we've ever had in the history of the state of Florida that's not been a hurricane.
With weather conditions improving, crews are hopeful they can make more progress, aided in part by a trench. Fires blazing beneath the massive concrete have finally been put out, but the instability of the debris still posing a threat to the response.
We're still working around the clock. We're still attempting to find void spaces. We know that time is of the essence, and we know that time is going by.
While questions mount over what caused the Champlain Tower South condominium to collapse, officials say their immediate focus remains on rescue efforts.
Debating the engineering report right now is not going to save lives as much as me putting 100% of my energy and effort into supporting these men and women.
Authorities throughout the region also say they are focused on ensuring the safety of all the area high-rises.
Ultimately, we need to understand if there was anything that was missed, anything that we can do, how we can help, how we can mitigate for something.
But with more than 100 people still missing, the situation grows more desperate by the hour.
There is despair, anguish, anger.
As the community holds out hope for signs of life.
There is always hope.
I'm Daryl Forges.
The Supreme Court will not hear the case about a transgender student who sued to use the bathroom that corresponds to his gender identity. In doing so, the justices upheld the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals decision, which ruled in favor of the student. Though Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito said they would have taken up the case next term. This case concerns the scope of Title IX, which prohibits schools from discriminating on the basis of sex. Gavin Grimm, a transgender male, challenged his school board in 2015. The school was requiring him to use either a unisex bathroom or the restroom corresponding to his sex assigned at birth. Times Square in New York was crowded with people Sunday evening when gunshots rang out. It all started with an argument, and a 21-year-old visitor who wasn't part of that disagreement was shot in the back. Kieran Dillon has the story.
It was about fun, freedom, and love as a smaller version of the annual Pride NYC Parade returned to Fifth Avenue for the first time since 2019. It was canceled in 2020 due to the pandemic. Excitement was in the air for the combined virtual and in-person celebration of LGBTQ Pride.
I think that's a beautiful thing, especially dealing with COVID and everything that's going on now, just to have some type of love out there, LGBTQ. Just we're out there.
With masks no longer required, you could see the smiles on the faces of the spectators who were thrilled to come together and celebrate. The marchers and organized groups did their best to keep the energy high. For many, it was a chance to feel proud of who they are and enjoy a feeling of ease and acceptance.
I feel really proud to be free in my skin and just be happy to be accepted, Just everyone's so happy and cheerful.
It's nice to be out here and everyone just gets to enjoy themselves and have a good time and be proud to be themselves.
There were other events on the schedule too, building on the theme of equality. The 27th annual Pride Fest Street Fair returned to 4th Avenue in the Village with food, booths, and entertainment. Lisa Toribio brought her children along with nieces and nephews to share an important lesson.
To love everybody equally and every race, every nationality, everything, just love. That's it.
There was an added energy to every event, too. A strong feeling of life coming back to the city and better times to come.
We start the week with dueling heat waves. Both the east and west coasts are bracing for more brutally hot temperatures. But as Britt Conway explains, one is expected to be worse than the other.
Record-breaking heat. This time of year, the Pacific Northwest is usually about 70 degrees, but not now. Temperatures have been well into the triple digits in cities like Portland and Seattle. Nearly 20 million people in the region are under an excessive heat warning through Thursday, and hundreds of daily high temperature records are forecast to be broken through the week. At Portland International Airport, the all-time hottest temperature was recorded Sunday, 112 degrees. And it could be broken this week. Seattle set its all-time high Sunday, too, at 104. Thousands of people across both Washington and Oregon lost power Sunday night because of the heat. And for those with power, that doesn't mean they have AC.
Oh yeah, soak up that AC.
Take a look. Air conditioning in the West and Northwest is less common than anywhere else in the country. A U.S. Census Bureau survey says more than 50% of Seattle homes don't have it. Cities are setting up cooling centers and opening senior centers, libraries, and community centers for people to cool down.
Heat is a stress on the body. It's a stress on the mind. It is uncomfortable to be hot for long periods of time.
Uncomfortable and dangerous.
So you might get nausea, headaches, lightheadedness, muscle cramps.
Make sure you're paying extra attention to yourself, to your health.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
An Austrian study has found social distancing and remote learning have led to higher incidences of depression in high school students. Researchers looked at about 3,000 students 14 to 20 years old who have been subjected to social distancing for almost a year and 1 semester of remote learning in Austria. Well, more than half of them said they've had symptoms of depression, and almost as many reported symptoms of anxiety. About a quarter said they've had trouble sleeping. 60% reported eating issues, and a shocking 40% reported suicidal ideation. The researchers found the same symptoms also worsened with increased cell phone usage. Still ahead tonight, the images can be overwhelming. In the wake of such sadness over the condo collapse in Florida, some healthcare providers in the Sunshine State are offering free bilingual grief counseling to anyone emotionally affected.
When you see events like this that seem to be random, it makes you feel as if the world's not quite a safe place to be.
More on how to handle those feelings of grief and sadness.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Attar. It has been quite a scorcher of the day, and it's been quite humid out there. Our dew points right now close to around 70 degrees, so very steamy air that's in place. The lower the dew points, the drier air feels, and that's not the case here as we are really experiencing very tropical air. Our dew points will stay quite high through about Wednesday and then finally drop down on Thursday, making the air feel a little bit more comfortable by the end of the week. This comes as a cold front will be sliding through our area. For tomorrow, we are going to be on the warm and humid side of the system. That cold front will be in the Great Lakes region. We are expecting a few showers, possibly even a thunderstorm or two as we head into the afternoon, and then a trough starts to slide southward, and that will help to drain the cooler air from northern Canada southward, and so we are expecting those temperatures to not only drop, but the air is going to feel a lot cooler and a lot more refreshing. So there is some relief to this heat as we head toward the end of the week and toward the 4th of July weekend. Here's a look at your future radar for tonight. There could be a few isolated thunderstorms that will remain, and then around 7 o'clock in the morning we start off with an isolated shower or two, and then chances of rain will start to increase in the afternoon, and there could be a few thunderstorms that could bring some drenching rain to some of our locations, and then again a few showers and a few isolated thunderstorms for your Wednesday. Becomes a little bit more widespread as we head into early Thursday. That cold front finally comes through, and that's going to usher in that cooler air. So here's a look at your forecast. An isolated thunderstorm or two for tonight. Temperatures drop down to around 69 degrees in Corning, 68 degrees in Elmira. So it is going to be a mild start to the day tomorrow. Looking at your highs, 91 in Corning, 92 in Elmira. But again, with that humidity, it is going to feel like the mid-90s. Expect clouds to increase during the day. There could be a few showers and thunderstorms as well. Your extended forecast calls for temperatures that will stay warm through your Wednesday. There could be a few thunderstorms that will be marching through, and then better rain chances on Thursday as that cold front comes in, and we're going to see a 10 to 15 degree drop in our temperatures, and it is going to feel a little bit more refreshing as we head into the 4th of July weekend. So temperature readings will be mainly in the 70s on Friday and Saturday, and then we bump it up to around 80 degrees on the 4th of July. We should see a little bit of sunshine. However, there could be a stray shower or two. 81 degrees on Monday, and overnight lows will drop down into the 50s.
In the wake of such sadness over the condo collapse disaster in Florida, some healthcare providers in the Sunshine State are offering free bilingual grief counseling to anyone in that area emotionally affected by the tragedy. But for those watching it on TV from afar, The images can be overwhelming. Mandy Gaither has more on how to handle those feelings of grief and sadness in today's Health Minute.
The images are hard to see. A mountain of rubble, rescuers sifting through, searching for those trapped beneath.
We generally are shaken when things that seem normal and consistent prove otherwise.
It's still unclear what caused this condo building in Surfside, Florida to collapse, but knowing this has happened can make one feel helpless, a natural human response to a disaster, according to Ken Yeager, director of the Stress, Trauma, and Resilience program at Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center.
When you see events like this that seem to be random, it makes you feel as if the world's not quite a safe place to be.
If you're feeling overwhelmed, Yeager says talk to someone you trust.
Getting another person's perspective or another person's feedback on the situation.
In disasters, one can often feel powerless. To help that, Yeager says, do something you can finish.
Any random task will do, if it's cooking or baking or painting or whatever it does, so that you can step back and see something done. And it's that concrete sense of accomplishment that is what keeps us moving forward.
And if these images get to be too much, Yeager says, take a break from it. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
A family reunion nearly 60 years in the making. Two brothers met for the first time in person after being separated early on in life. Natalie Kuko has the story.
Oh, man. It's priceless.
After almost 6 decades, Mark Bostwick of Kansas City and Carl Aaron of Rochester, brothers by blood, are together again.
I knew he existed, but I didn't know a whole lot about where he was. And last year, he kind of found us.
Mark Bostwick was born in Elmira. Carl Aaron, originally Bostwick, was also born in Elmira. They share the same birth mother and different fathers. Bostwick went through foster care. Aaron was eventually adopted and moved to Rochester.
I had my adoption papers, and I knew what my last name was. But New York State changed the adoption laws where you could get your original birth certificate with your original family on it.
After Aaron learned his birth mother had died, the two connected for the first time last March. But because of the pandemic, an in-person reunion was put on hold.
We got about 5 miles from here. My wife goes, "How do you feel?" And I said, I've got a whole realm of emotions, just excited, nervous, apprehensive.
After years of persistence, Bostwick says his brother didn't give up and says those who have been adopted shouldn't be afraid to do the same.
Never give up hope. I think that's what Carl did most. He never gave up hope, and he kept pursuing it and found it. And, you know, it can happen to anybody.
And when asked if they'll keep in touch, Aaron says,
we're going to work this out. Yeah, definitely.
We're trying to talk them into coming out and watching Buffalo play in Kansas City so that they can meet our family.
A 101-year-old World War II veteran finally receiving his Purple Heart more than 75 years after he was wounded in the battle that became known as the turning point for the Allies. Bess Casserly has that story.
77 years after he was wounded in the Normandy invasion on D-Day, Baton Rouge native Johnny Jones was finally honored.
We should all pay tribute to Johnny Jones. He has stormed the beach at Normandy to free the world of Nazi oppression. He worked in the United States to make the words of the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution live for all Americans. We are, whoever you are, a better person, society, state, nation, world because of Johnny Jones.
The 101-year-old got his Purple Heart pinned on him by Senator Bill Cassidy in the presence of many influential lawmakers.
I just wanted to say to you today that I stand on your shoulders and I thank you for all of your hard work.
Jones was wounded by shrapnel from German airplanes and was on a ship when it hit a mine on Omaha Beach. But the fight continued when he returned back to the United States as African Americans face extensive discrimination. Jones went on to get his law degree at Southern and took on numerous civil rights cases, as well as representing the organizers of the Baton Rouge bus boycotts.
I know that I'm where I'm at home getting these praises, and I will continue to do. And I was continue to do everything that I can to inspire others to follow my footsteps.
Lego is trying to make its iconic toy bricks more sustainable. The Danish toy maker unveiled a prototype brick made entirely from recycled plastic. Lego says the plastic came from discarded bottles and that the material meets the company's strict quality and safety requirements. 1 liter plastic bottle provides enough raw material for 10 2x4 Lego bricks. Don't look for the new bricks just yet. Lego says it'll be some time before they hit store shelves. More research is needed. The next phase of testing is expected to take at least a year. Visitors to Rome's Colosseum can now view the building from a perspective few have seen in a couple millennia. The subterranean levels have been opened for tourists. Known as the hypogea, these areas below the main stage where animals and gladiators waited before going into combat. When it was their turn, a system of elevators would lift them to the main floor. A 12-year-old boy is now seeing the world in color. A surprise that was captured on video at a Reds game, and it's getting a lot of attention. Alexa Helwig has the emotional moment.
This is historic stuff. It's all right here in the Reds.
Colton Hurst looks up and down and side to side.
Red. Everything was red.
And it's this moment inside Great American Ballpark. Colton saw the world differently. The 12-year-old from Nicholasville, Kentucky was born colorblind.
I was trying to figure out, how this was possible. I didn't know that they would work.
Colton's played baseball since he was 5 years old. He's in town for a tournament.
We traveled 3 hours, and we're going to win the championship tomorrow.
To draw up some motivation for their weekend games, Colton and his teammates watched the Reds play Friday night. But their focus changed when Colton's parents handed him an early birthday present at the game.
They said, "Can you try on these glasses for me real quick?" And then I put them on, and they were colorblind glasses.
He's seeing a whole lot of color. Colton's parents captured it all on video to remember the priceless moment.
I'm ugly crying, she's ugly crying, everybody else around us who didn't even know us was ugly crying, so.
He says there wasn't a better place for his son to finally see the color red than a Reds game.
I'm just thinking, wow, he could finally see what we see. And stuff like that we take for granted because we see it every day.
A day after the game, Colton can't take off the glasses. He's thankful he had his entire team around him for the special moment. It's a well-deserved one for a special kid.
I remember seeing red for the first time. It's just the first thing that shocked me whenever I put them on.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. NASA says its newest Rocketeer is ready for next month's big flight. Rosy the Rocketeer will be in the commander's seat when Boeing's CST-100 Starliner heads to the International Space Station. The mannequin pays homage to Rosy the Riveter, a World War II icon that represented women working in factories and shipyards to replace all the men on the front lines. Boeing says their Rosy is fitted with a hand-sewn, Rosy-themed COVID-19 mask and a Rosy scarf autographed by a woman who helped build Boeing planes during the war. The Starliner takes off from Cape Canaveral on July 30th. From our whole team, thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great night.